Back in January, I heard a new song on the radio that I had never heard before. I'm Never Gonna Not Dance Again by Pink. I loved it. That is quite a song. You can't help but have it in your head. You can't help but sing it all week once you've heard it. So one night, I was Googling that music video. I said, I wonder what the music video is like. The song is so good. And the music video was no disappointment. It was unbelievable. All roller skates the whole time. So fun. You can't watch it once. It's like potato chips. So then I Googled, did she ever perform it live? And did she ever? The American Music Awards, she turned the whole thing into a roller derby. She started outside. She came in. It was unbelievable. And I thought to myself, I don't know the last concert I went to. It's probably been 10 years. And I'm not much of a concert person, but I would really love to go see Pink. I would really love to see her in a show. And at that exact moment, my phone buzzes. And it's my friend from my days back in Boston 25 years ago. Her message said, my sister has an extra ticket to the Pink concert at Fenway Park in July. Do you want to come? I couldn't believe it. That moment made the hairs on my neck stand up. And I could not explain to my friend clearly enough, do you realize that just at this moment that I'm never Googling Pink or a music video, and I was just this moment doing that? I couldn't get across to her how momentous this was. And those moments are given to us as gifts to show us that we live in a world that is enchanted. We are people who are guided by God. And although there is so much chaos in life, there's an order that lies beyond it. I know a lot of you right now are in deep chaos. Some of you are here having come from the hospital and about to go back to the hospital to sit by the bedside of someone you love. Some of us have financial stuff going on. Some of our kids are in crisis. Some of us are in grief. There's a million different stories going on here right now. And in that chaos, we're being invited to the thought that there's a deeper order that lies beyond it. And so miracles like that, big or small, are the little moments that cause us to say, how could anyone not believe in God? How could you not think there was a God when enchanted moments like this can happen? That's how lightning bugs are for me, actually. When you look out at fireflies on a summer night, how incredible is that? That fills me with awe. I look at fireflies and I say, how could anybody doubt that God exists? When I was a kid, I used to want to catch them and put them in a jar. And my mom had to finally say, sweetheart, don't do that. That's not right. Those are God's creatures. You've got to just let them be. Let them come and let them go. And that is the trick that we're hearing about in the gospel today. We have to treat miracles like fireflies. They've got to be able to come and go. We can't let ourselves get attached to a miracle or demand a miracle. We have to let them be what they are, gifts from God that we have no control over. In the gospel today, Peter, James, and John are invited by their friends, their inspiration, Jesus, to go on a hike. And on the hike, they have one of these moments. They have one of these moments that makes them say, how could anyone not believe in God? Just look at this. And they do, in that moment, what all of us are tempted to do. Let's hold on to it. Peter says, let's hold on to it. Let's get all these fireflies in the jar and put the lid on. And Jesus says, no, you've got to let this be. This moment is a miracle. It can't be controlled. It can't be channeled. It has to be respected, the way fireflies are. Just let it come and go. This is the big issue that we have, is that the way we want to harness the power of a miracle is to hold on to it, or to be able to make a deal with God that we can demand miracles to happen. But that's not how miracles work. The way we harness the power of a miracle is by treasuring the memory of it. By knowing that if that could happen, anything can happen. And that if there's moments of goodness that are that good, we can trust God. We can trust that there's an order beyond the chaos. The problem that a lot of us have is that we actually start to expect miracles to happen, and we get mad when they don't. And that puts us in a difficult place in our faith. Imagine if I had gotten mad, if I had thought about a Pink concert and tickets did not fall into my lap right away. Imagine if I say, God, if you exist, I'd like to see some Pink concert tickets in my inbox by midnight. Okay, buddy? Prove to me that you exist. That's what we get tempted to do. But you can hear in a situation like that, that's so unreasonable. It's not reasonable to expect that God is like our concierge. A famous Jesuit scholar once said, we have to remember not to run ahead of grace. I didn't understand that when I first heard it. He said, don't run ahead of grace. And that means we have to not think we know better than God does what the next step in our life needs to be. And a lot of us would pray for a miracle to help us avoid some kind of a trial that we actually are not meant to avoid, because the real miracles are hidden within that trial. We may be asking God to shortchange us because we're uncomfortable waiting for the real miracle. So this week it feels like we're being invited to consider that maybe the miracles that we want are not as important as the miracles that we could never have dreamed of, or maybe that we don't want. Is it possible that living through a trial is what opens us to the miracle that God wants us to have? Maybe this is the wrong job for us. Maybe the job that we've been praying for a miracle to be able to land is not the right job for us. Or maybe keeping the job that feels shaky is not right for us. Maybe this isn't the right fiance. Maybe this is a health crisis that I need so that miracles can be given to me. Maybe there are miracles contained in this trial that I'm going through. That's what he means by don't run ahead of grace. When we run ahead of grace, we start thinking we've got the master plan and God needs to give us the building materials and the labor to do it. But no, miracles are like fireflies. They can't be controlled. My dad recently had a heart valve replacement, and it's going well, but it wasn't easy. He had some complications from his hospitalization, and he's weaker than he was 5 months ago. I got a call from my mom recently, and she said, your dad fell walking the dog recently. And I said, oh my gosh, no way, he fell? And she said, but you won't believe it. She said, you know how we've got that neighbor a couple houses up that we don't know that well? Well, that was the neighbor that saw him fall. And that neighbor's a retired doctor. And that neighbor's wife runs a cardiac rehab program. And when the doctor helped Dad up, he said, oh my goodness, have you just had a surgery? I'd like to help you through that. And then the wife came over and she said, are you in cardiac rehab? And he said, no, I'm on a waiting list because there's like a... And she said, oh, I know all about that. You know what we're going to do? Why don't I create a cardiac rehab program for you to do at home? And then my husband here can be the one to facilitate it. He's a retired doctor. And so now my dad has like this concierge doctor that comes to his house every day. And it happened because he fell. He didn't get hurt in the fall. We would have prayed to avoid that fall with everything we had. But within the fall came the miracle. Don't run ahead of grace. So we are being invited to stay open to grace, not to cling to any outcome that we'd like to order up or engineer or demand. The Pink concert was Monday night. It was incredible. My seats weren't that good. I was way back in the grandstand, but it didn't matter. It was electric. I don't know if you've ever seen what Pink does at a concert. She goes up on this high wire act. She's got a harness and she flies above the audience most of the time while singing in full voice. And there was one moment that she was flying above Fenway Park, and everyone had their cell phones out with their lights on. You know, nobody uses lighters anymore. It's all cell phone lights. And in Fenway Park, in the dark, all of those lights looked like fireflies. And I thought to myself, in a million years, I never could have engineered something like this to happen. This wasn't something I even dreamed of asking for. I couldn't have dreamed it up. How could anyone not believe in God?